Arts exhibition, Perry's Victory at the Battle of Erie. We're celebrating the Bicentennial of winning of the battle, September 10th, 1813. And one of the highlights of our show is the museum's own painting by Gilbert Stewart of Perry. It was done in 1818, and Gilbert Stewart was notorious for not actually finishing his artwork and remained unfinished for about 10 years, and then at Stewart's death, his daughter Jane actually finished the painting. Gilbert painted the head, and then the daughter painted the background uniform. So it did take a while to
Same
finish.
thing that happened to President Washington, you think?
The same artist. He's notorious for not really finishing his artwork.
How about this flag?
It's a 15-star, 15-stripe flag. It's the official flag during the War of 1812. This is obviously not a real one. We had it made for the exhibition to sort of highlight the portrait of Perry, which was highlighted in our Centennial exhibition 100 years ago as well. But that time it was highlighted with the Don't Give Up the Ship flag. The original one was brought here.
This is the museum's piece here?
Yes.
Okay.
We acquired it from a Perry descendant in 1967.
Oh, good. Okay. Anything else? You can go into the other room and...
He is wearing the captain's uniform of the time. There's a silver star on the left epaulet, which tells you that his rank was Commodore. And it is the correct uniform of the period.
Oh, okay, good.
Although it wasn't his rank, actually, at the time of the battle.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, his rank was actually Master Commandant. He was awarded the rank of captain a few months after the battle, and they retroactively dated it to the day of the battle. So the history books always say Captain Perry, but technically when he fought the battle, he was a Master Commandant.
Oh, nice. Well, let's go into the other room here and see what we have.
Okay. Well, the show sort of layers history and art, and to sort of give people an idea of where the Don't Give Up the Ship comes from, because it's a very important part of the battle. There's a couple display of a few items here that talk about Perry's friend, James Lawrence, who had died in June of 1813 at a very quick naval battle that was between the Shannon and the Chesapeake. He was the captain of the Chesapeake. And his dying words were, "Don't give up the ship." And so Perry used his last name of Lawrence as the name for his flagship, and then took his dying words as his battle flag motto. And then these images are British prints looking at that battle. It's one of the early British victories against the Americans. And this one shows the British as quintessential well-dressed, well-fed soldiers, and they show the Americans as sort of bumbling fools or crying or afraid. It's a satirical print or a piece of propaganda from the time period. They were trying to incite the public and get them riled up against the Americans, because at this point they were fighting both the French and now the Americans. And then this is a portrait of Lawrence down here and a biography that was published just a few months after his death. So you can get an idea, all these men were very young when they fought in this battle, all in their 20s.
Yeah, he looks young, too.
But you have to keep in mind, most of them entered the naval service at the age of 14. So they had a career of at least 10 to 15 years.
So the Don't Give Up the Ship, the blue flag with the white, was that a period piece or something just now, recently?
No, it's in the Naval Academy Museum. They have the original one.
And it was blue background with the white letters?
That's what they think. It's so faded now, it's really hard to... Some say it was black, some say it was blue.
Oh, okay.
But Perry had it made.
Oh, okay, good. Before the battle?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And then this picture you're looking at here, this shows that same battle between the Shannon and the Chesapeake, depicted just a few years later, and now you can see that they're showing a battle among equals. Because at this point, the war is over, Britain's trading with the Americans, and the potential of selling this to an American, you don't want to show the Americans looking foolish. You show them just as, strong and well-fed and well-dressed as the British were. And we have two maps as part of the exhibition. One shows the basin at Erie, Pennsylvania, at Presque Isle, and it shows where the actual ships were constructed. And this map was actually drawn in May of 1813 while Perry was there and the ships were being created. So it's a fascinating little document showing how it would have looked to somebody then. And then the other map that we have shows the western end of Lake Erie and Lake St. Clair. And I see you're going to focus in down here. You can see where it says the present camp of General Harrison's army. That's Fort Meigs today. And so it's interesting that you can see that in this map of 1813. And if you move up, which is the Maumee River right now, you can see where it says Old Stockade right there. And that's actually downtown Toledo. That's where Fort Industry is, or was. And so you can see where Swan Creek and the Maumee River meet. And then as you go up the coast, you can see where it talks about Frenchtown, present-day Monroe, Michigan. And you can, as you move your way up, you can see Native American encampments, as well as when you get far enough north, you can see Fort Detroit, which at this point the British were in control of. And then down the other side, you can see Fort Malden, which was the main British fort. So it's a really interesting map, and it belonged to the Postmaster General of Cleveland in 1813. And this shows part of the reason why Lake Erie was so critical with the shipping routes for transportation and goods. One of the main reasons they fought over control of the lake. Then this small painting up here was a really great find and a very generous loan from the New York Historical Society. It was painted around 1860, and it shows Perry's fleet dawn of September 10th, 1813, just as they're getting ready to go out to meet the British. And it's actually a fairly accurate view of the battle. They would have certainly interviewed the remaining survivors to get this type of view. The accuracy of everything.
Is this from Put-in-Bay area?
Yes. This shows this shows Put-in-Bay.
It might be Gibraltar Island over there.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, that's a really nice piece.
A lot of the artworks here were created around 1859, 1860, because it's sort of like today with the World War II memorial. You're reaching a point after the battle where everybody's starting to die off, and you sort of memorialize it before people forget. And then this is from the Library of Congress. This is one of Thomas Birch's sketches for the large painting that we have on display showing the Battle of Lake Erie. This is one of his early sketches. So the painting is similar to it, but not exactly like it.
Yes, you can see it, the similarities.
And then this print here is actually the first print that was published that the public could buy, showing the Battle of Lake Erie. And this shows one of the two key moments of the battle. One of the moments is when, of course, when Perry left the Lawrence to go to the Niagara, and the other one was when the Niagara went in and sort of crossed the T, or basically fired out of both sides at the British ships, forcing them to surrender, and that in this print depicts that moment.
In close-up, you can see the people in the ship.
Oh yeah, the detail in some of these engravings is just phenomenal. And this is part of what the artist strove for. All the literature of the time really talks about how accurate a depiction of a battle. I have the most accurate one, or my print's the most accurate, because I interviewed and sketched the ships. And then this scene here is a print after a painting by Thomas Birch, showing the other sort of important moment of the battle where Perry was crossing the water in between the Lawrence and the Niagara. And he was under fire at this point. The British knew what he was trying to do, and they were trying to stop him. but he has in his arms, wrapped around his one arm, his battle flag, the Don't Give Up the Ship flag. And so he's taking it from the Lawrence to the Niagara,
I see it, right.
creating that his flagship. Wherever that battle flag goes, that's the ship that's now his flagship.